And welcome back, one and all, to the Blue Rose Respite. I hope all of you have had a wonderful week so far. Mine's been very tiring, if I'll be completely honest. But I'm here to relax, unwind, and explore the next chapter of the letter with you guys. I'm very excited. And let's see who's in the chat this evening. I saw the wonderful Shadowfang and Culture Ghost arrive nice and early, so thank you so much, guys. Hang on. And of course, the wonderful Maximus Viridius, Fallout Kids, 567, GentlemanPhilosoraptor, wonderful to see you. And who else is in the chat this evening? I believe I saw Mortimer among there as well. So many wonderful phases tonight. Sorry if I'm kind of a little bit out of it. This week's kind of been chaotic, and today was a really slow day. So, bleh. Slow day in the sense that I want to get some shit done, but I've just been way too fatigued today to get any stuff done. But that's what I'm going to try and do tomorrow. Thank you so much for the host, Fallout Kids 567. And Kimmy-kun, welcome back to the Blue Rose Respite. Great to see you again. So, hope all of you are doing very well. Great to see everyone getting comfortable, getting settled in the chat, because we have a story to tell, don't we? Where last we left off on this morbid tale, we were in Zachary's chapter, wherein he was busy preoccupying himself with developing the photos taken from the photo shoot at the Ermengarde mansion, and discovering some rather unsettling aspects of the photos that he's taken. We decided that at a later date we'll show these to Ashton to see what he thinks. And the lovely Isabella came to stay with us for a bit because she was quite on edge by something that she saw. Something that shook her to her core. But let's see where the story takes us next. The film processor hums back to life at my touch. The light switch gives out a soft click, and darkness embraces the small closet again.
Somehow those urban legends don't sound so silly now.
Sometimes I wish Ash would make himself easier to find. 24 messages, 13 phone calls, and one visit to his flat later, I still have no idea which rock and Luxpawn he went off to hide under again. The guy has his own place, but refuses to stay in it. Has his own phone, but doesn't answer any of his calls or gives any indication he's gotten my messages. Most of the time he'll just show up on my front door. Sometimes in the middle of the night, complaining how uncomfortable it is to sleep at the back of his Shirley, his car. As if the old couch in my flat is any better. Hey Garrett, how's it going? Welcome back. Great to see you. Nothing new from him though, but a bit frustrating really. There's the police precinct, of course. Then again, he's not there most of the time either, and if that's also true for today, he's likely out on another stakeout. There's nothing much to do for me but to wait if that's the case.
Let's just hope I'm lucky enough today.
While Luxpawn is a relatively peaceful city boasting a low crime rate, its precinct stays abuzz with activity. Fallout Kids 567 with 3 bits! Thank you so much, Steph, for cheering me up. It's been a hard week for me and my family. You're most welcome. I do what I can, and I try to keep this stream as consistent and as soothing and as relaxing as I possibly can. So you're most welcome, and thank you so much for the bits. It's really appreciated. Oops. As soon as I open the glass front doors, murmurs coming from the people waiting in the lobby welcome me. Officers can occasionally be seen shuffling in and out of the rooms, greeting civilians with a casual smile and a polite nod. Some look a little worse for wear, like their receptionist, who looked at me with much disdain the moment I arrived. Thankfully, I won't have to deal with him today. Before I can even step in, Ashton's voice, though low, comes from the hallway adjacent to the lobby.
Not even for just 1 minute?
No. The case was dismissed, remember?
You were the one handling that case.
If you want access to those records, you've got to ask Chief. I was taken off it before shit went to hell. Why do you even bother? Even Professor Clark seems to have given up on that.
Well, Never mind, you won't understand.
Right. I know you owe Professor Clark a lot, but the right guy isn't just someone you mess with.
Oh, that's because he's looking for the wrong guy. Oh, that was terrible. I'll see myself out.
Who knows what else gets swept under the rug with them involved.
That takes a special kind of ignorant not to know.
And a smart person to know which boundaries he can't cross. You're a bright guy, you'll figure it out. In any case, I've got to get going. Another missing person case on my hand. Benjamin on the front desk looks like he's about to maul someone after the 4th one yesterday. Murders, people missing, what a time to be alive. Man, I miss the old Luxburn.
You and me both. I'll see ya. Gonna go grab some lunch.
Yeah, I know that was bad for all our kids. I'll see myself out after this stream. He notices me first as soon as he enters the lobby and pauses. Confusion briefly crosses his face until I fish out the phone from my pocket and wave it up. Frowning, he pulls his own mobile out, wordlessly fiddling with it for a few seconds before sighing heavily. This ain't any annoyance in him when he glances up, though. Only mild exasperation and what might be a hint of amusement.
Stop taking pointers from Isabella. This is gonna get old soon.
At least use your phone properly.
It's an alarm clock, a good note-taking device, a halfway decent camera, and maybe a music player too. If I'm being nice. What else do I need it for?
I don't know, keeping in contact maybe?
When he merely shrugs, I know I've struck a chord. He's far from holding a piece of technology in contempt, of course. Ash has always been nothing but practical from the start, and technology is useful. Only when he gets too focused on one thing like the case he's handling, he tends to forget that there are other things around him. A little reminder and a nudge in the right direction can get him a long way.
I've got an email on that social media site the girls roped us into joining.
That doesn't make any sense. Also, you've got an account before any of us had one.
For policing purposes? Anyway, why are you here? I thought you have something scheduled today. Or was that yesterday?
That was yesterday. Look, about that, there's something I want you to see.
He stops me with a tap on my shoulder, walks me past straight to the door, and gestures with his head towards the very irked receptionist when I raise an eyebrow in question.
Over lunch. I haven't eaten anything since last night, and Benjamin there doesn't really like loiterers around here.
Wordlessly, I follow after him, but not after sending the poor guy behind the table an apologetic smile. As expected, he takes a seat in the farthest corner of the cafe, a good way from the windows, but easily allows a view for those who come and go. Secluded enough not to be disturbed by the lunch hour rush or be overheard by a curious bystander. If I didn't know this is a lunch he invited me to, I would automatically assume I got dragged into another stakeout. After years of knowing him, though, this has simply become one of the many habits he has that I've gotten used to. Blech. Food arrives minutes later. Oh no! It's the return of the really good food. Now I really want cake. A slice of their vegetarian quiche for me. Meanwhile, Ashton has opted for a cup of coffee, plus a gracious serving of...
You're having cake for lunch?
He shrugs and then proceeds to dig in without even a hint of remorse. Frankly, it's like seeing a child get his Christmas present early.
Don't tell Becca. I'll get an earful.
Well, that's an interesting way to obtain a phone bot. Got thrown at your head one day and decided to keep it. Yeah, why not?
It's just for today.
You should listen to her, though. The kind of work you do, you'll need to eat something other than sweets. I don't want to see you drop dead in front of my apartment again.
I told you, just this once. Have you been hanging out with Becca lately? You're beginning to sound like her.
Nah, just for some recipes. But she has the right to worry, you know? It's like she's taking care of 2 kids. One bitches on sweets, while the other on cup noodles.
Dad friend.
At least Bella knows how to cook.
Hey, I can at least boil something. Wait, that's easy, right? I mean, you just put water in and...
No, don't even think about it. You destroyed your own kitchen once by sticking a pressure cooker on it. I think my sister is a whole lot better than you. And this is coming from someone who has no other choice but to eat her cooking for some time.
To be fair, he genuinely appears offended at the last remark. Hate will be too strong of a word to ascribe how Sis and him usually interact whenever they're in the same room. Though whatever appropriate word it is, I can say with most certainty that the feeling's mutual for both. Ash thinks she nags too much, while Sis thinks he's a trouble magnet I should stay away from. They're both technically right on their assessments.
How's your sister, by the way? Still bullying white guys?
What should I say? Conversation, if she's married to one, bring that up.
You do know she's married to one now.
I hope she doesn't end up poisoning him with her cooking.
Pot calling the kettle black?
She can't be better than me.
Actually, she is now. They're planning to start a restaurant sometime in the future.
I was bedridden for days after eating some of the stuff she whipped up. And now you're letting her cook for other people?
Don't exaggerate. It was just for one day, and you're the one who refused to leave your apartment. You should come by, though. Sis gave birth a few days ago. Girl.
Oh, that's sweet.
I've only seen the pictures, but I might visit sometime after everything's settled down. Too many backlogs to go through for now.
Yeah, that's kind of funny how, like, this game, even though for all the terrifying moments in it, the ones that hit us the most in the heart is, like, not so much in the heart, it's in the stomach, with their beautiful depictions of different food. Just, oh, so good.
No way in hell. She'll just find something to criticize again. Last time, it was Shirley.
He makes a show of being utterly mortified, though I'm quite sure he doesn't mean any of that. He might not say it straight out, but I'm pretty sure he's enjoying the small visits whenever he can. Something about him reminds him of his own family, sort of like making up for the one he never got back after his parents separated. Sore spot, that one topic. One thing he never brings up in any conversation, if he can help it, and I've never seen the need to be nosy. There are some wounds you're just not meant to open, and for the both of us, the sentiment goes the same way.
As if you ain't already on a shit list. You're just afraid of her.
In your dreams. But I'll think about it. Can't just drop this thing at the moment.
His change in tone is subtle, but his aggravation over the matter hangs completely palpable in the air.
Still no closer?
The opposite, actually. There's been some slip-ups here and there. Careless mistakes, and let's just say I'm waiting for him to make another one. What about you? How are things on your end?
All piled up on top of the other. But I can manage. Still recovering from the expenses for the movie, so the surge in new projects helps. Well, there's this one thing.
The expression on his face grows more puzzled with each photo I spread on the table. There's about 8 of them, all of it reprints of the same thing. Miss Wright's distorted head in the photos. He takes a minute to go through each, eyeing the prints warily. The furrow on his brow doesn't cease even as he gathers all of it into one pile and sets them in one neat stack in front of me with a heavy sigh.
Hannah Wright?
Yeah. How did you...
The locket. She never takes it off. Evan's family heirloom.
I won't even think about asking why or how he knows that. If he's investigating them, he'll likely have already dug up every unimaginable dirt on them, including family history.
Are you done with your work with them?
Yesterday, yeah. That's just a small feature for a magazine. Interviews, photos, standard stuff, nothing big. But see, here's the thing. I don't know how else to put this out there without sounding crazy, but there really is something odd with that place. Remember the letter?
He drags in a breath, reaching up his nose and pinches it, like the action alone will help grant him all the patience in the world to continue this conversation.
Please tell me this isn't about that again.
No, Ash, you've got to listen this time.
I am listening, and I can't believe that just came out of your mouth. These are some blurred out photos, and that letter is just a stupid prank. I expected this from Isabella, not you. You're the photographer here. I don't see any need to get worked up over this.
I know what you mean, but will you hear me out first?
Ash leans back on his seat and doesn't say anything further. He gestures for me to continue with a wave of his hand, impatience clearly on his face. Any other person telling him this, and he'll walk out without batting an eye. I suppose the only reason he's given me the benefit of the doubt is because we know each other.
Ash, I don't easily buy into these things as much as you do. Yesterday, though, behind Hana.
He blinks at that, his eyebrows lifting momentarily before settling into a deep frown.
Hana? Since when were you on a first-name basis with the right missus?
Why does that even matter?
I thought you said this was just a gig.
His voice stays level, but the accusation in it is as clear as day. You're a paranoid fuck, aren't you, Ashton? It hits a nerve in me, somehow, more than the tone usually does. I do get where he's coming from, but... the top one sounds like it would come across as more defensive. But I think if he maybe just insisted that it was just a gig, that'd probably be smoother. Yeah, I think that one seems a bit, like, less pointed. Patience can be a tough thing to summon at times. But we didn't get this far as friends if we let our own tempers be the lord of us.
Bro, it's really just another freelance work.
He eyes me skeptically, the same stare he reserves for people he interrogates. I've been on the receiving end of it before, early in our friendship. Years later, he's already got the unimpressed police look down pat.
And there's nothing going on with me and Miss Hana. She was just being friendly. Insisted I call her by her first name. That's all.
I wasn't implying any of that. You're not that sort of guy.
I know, but let's just get that out of the way. The just-in-case elephant in the room scenario, aight? She's a married woman, Jesus!
Not with the image she presents in public.
No, but trust me, she ain't any of the things the tabloid writes about her.
Like I read any of those.
I know you don't, but keep it in mind, will you?
Will do. Though I can't promise she'll get off scot-free if she's involved. Man, with how you're acting, it feels like I'm doing a solid for your girlfriend.
Cut that out, will you? And I'm not asking you to. Besides, what's currently going on here is more important.
All right, lay it in.
Recounting everything takes the better half of our lunch, but he manages to listen through the entire thing without a snide comment. A feat in itself, actually. At the end of it, Ash merely nods, takes out his phone, and excuses himself. Off to a far corner of the cafe for some privacy, if you can even afford to have such in a place as public as this. He returns in a little while and hands me a small card.
I can't stop you if you're willing to believe in this crap. Give this guy a call. You're better off talking to him than me. He's at the public library now if you want to catch him there. He used to be my professor back in the university.
Oh, no, I don't think that's...
Go on. I already gave him a heads up. You know I can't help you out, man.
He gives my arm a tap and walks off, mumbling about checking back how things are at the precinct. I don't see his face when he leaves, but I know this is his own little way of helping out despite what he doesn't voice out. Of all the places, it never crosses my mind I'll end up wandering into a public library today, considering I rarely ever visited. Somehow, there has always been this kind of disconnect between me and books in general. Sure, some of them held my attention in my youth during the brief times of day I was left to my own with nothing to do. I went through the whole of Grant's collection, as a matter of fact. Read all of them twice, or thrice even. But they never did hold it for long. Most of it never even sticked. Especially after I learned it's simply easier to do things myself if I want to learn stuff. This ain't in the plan in the first place. But after Ashton went through trouble to contact the professor, I can't just ignore it. Nothing but quiet greets me inside, though. Not the typical mum one would associate with a library, but one akin to a hush prior to an impending trouble. Or perhaps I'm just overthinking again. I really like to think I'm just thinking too much about this, that this is just the lack of sleep talking. Regardless, apart from a group of students murmuring in a corner somewhere, the place is free of its usual visitors. All while my footsteps echo in a manner unsettling enough to raise the hairs on the back of my neck. Much to my relief, it does not take me long to find him, being the only occupant in this side of the room. Professor Andrew Clark. I've never personally met the man, but Ash has spoken highly of him several times. In fact, he's Ash's go-to guy when something's troubling him with a case. My steps are unsure as I approach. At any rate, he greets me with a warm smile, like a grandson he hasn't seen in a long time.
Ashton's friend, I take it. Zachary. You'll have to forgive this old man if I don't get your name right.
Oh no, you got it. It's Zach. Zachary Steele, Professor Clark.
He gestures toward the empty seat across the table while he returns to his books. The next couple of minutes pass in relative silence as he continues to read and take notes from the pile he's accumulated on the table. Maybe I should have taken a book first before heading here. Before I can even get far into that idea, the professor clicks the book shut and sets it atop the stack next to him.
Ashton told me you were hoping to get answers from me. Although I'm not quite sure what I could share, I'll do my best to help.
Of course, there are a lot of things I want to ask. How do we get out of this mess? I'm the first among tens, hundreds of concerns in my head. But in the presence of someone I barely know, the thoughts won't easily form. He is nothing but patient, however, but with enough time to mull over, a question finally forms.
Do you believe in the paranormal, Professor?
It's supernatural, actually. Don't worry. It's a common mistake to make, but they really are two different things. The other one deals with what we can't explain at the moment, while the other are things we may not have an explanation to. Here.
He places a couple of papers in front of me, the very same one he was writing on earlier. A study of Luxborn's supernatural culture in a nutshell.
A friend of mine wrote that a few years ago. He took interest in the city after reading about the stories. I have to agree with him here. Even stories dealing with things you don't see with the naked eye can be rife with culture, and this city thrives on it. Just ask the locals.
Like ghosts, for example.
Among other things. The interpretation has changed over the years, though. Various religions, for example, have their own version. It might not always be a spirit now. It could be a memory, or an imprint, an echo, so to speak. Some are born from curses, even, out of great anger, hatred, or pain. There was this one story. Ah, here it is.
Another book is pulled out from the stack and placed open atop the papers, while he speaks with such passion that it makes me wonder if some part of him believes these to be true. It is interesting, though, even if I'm personally not a fan of such stories. And soon, hours pass without my notice.
In the end, it asks for something to be sacrificed in order to destroy whatever anchors the wraith. A sad tale, that one, but the simplest grudge can bring the ugliest, even in the kindest person, with some people none the wiser. Oh, I'm sorry, I just went on.
Nah, it's good. Are you familiar with the Ermengarde mansion, though?
Of course, that goes without saying. Who hasn't heard of the local legend?
That's actually really cool, Kimmy-kun, that you worked on a pilot for a ghost hunting show. That'd be cool. Did it get picked up for a series, or did it just stay as a pilot?
In fact, you aren't the first one to ask me about that recently. Although, word of the mouth is, someone has already bought it.
Ah, yeah. The Wright couple. It was a close friend who handled that sale.
So I heard. Well, don't think the house being bought by anyone would stop us from talking about it. What is it about the mansion, then?
I just want to ask what you think of it, sir.
We're going to need more than an afternoon for that, young man. You see, it's the kind that has changed over the years, passed down from one person to the next. Sometimes, it's the Lord William who haunts the place. There are versions where it's the lady of the house. But my favorite, a personal favorite, would have to be the ones that followed after the disappearance of the kind daughter.
Well, what about these then?
There is a moment of hesitation on my part when I pull out Miss Wright's photos and lay them all in front of him. Unlike Ash, though, the professor inspects each print with great interest. That gives me some hope, at least.
When were these taken?
Just the other day. Do you think those are the same?
Perhaps. Perhaps not. There were certainly instances when the film would pick up what the human eyes weren't able to see. But then, it could also have been human error.
I didn't edit it in any way. You have my word on that, Professor. They all just came out like that.
Then, if it is what you're thinking, I'd strongly advise against doing something reckless and further tangling with them. Accounts about them may be riveting to you, but most of it often ends in an unpleasant manner.
What about those people in the house? If there is something in there, shouldn't they know? I'm sure they're already familiar with the legends, but...
Some people might deserve it, however.
Deserve what, sir?
All of a sudden, the tenderness in the professor's eyes disappears, his face becoming unreadable. As though catching himself, he hastily clears his throat, gathers his books, and rises from his seat.
Professor?
I'm sorry. I just remembered something I neglected to do.
Oh, come on, man!
You'll have to excuse me, Zachary.
All right. Do you need any help with that?
Don't let my looks fool you, son. I can still carry a few hundreds. I've been doing this for years. I'll see you some other time if you have any other questions.
Of course. It was nice knowing you, Professor.
Hey, it's all good for all our kids. Like, you're going through a difficult time, and I'm just glad that there's people in the chat, and I'm able to help out as best I can. They did a lot of illegal things, a lot of trespassing. We did a lot of EVP readings. It's called Real Ghost Hunters of New York or something. Yeah, I can imagine that if you're going into private property that's, like, been abandoned and stuff, then if you're going to film in it, then you probably need permits for it. So, yeah, unless you have permits for it, then I think it is technically illegal trespassing. He doesn't hear it, however. In a few short strides, he's out of the library, leaving me in every piece of this whole mess amidst the oppressive stillness. Despite the answers gleaned, more questions surfaced. There is even a single way out of this. I hope we find it soon. The moon is well into the night sky by the time I make it back home. My heavy treads and the sound of traffic outside echo in my ears, filling the empty room with some semblance of life. Nana would scold me if she ever hears me walk like that, but after today I really can't give a damn about everything. The mattress creaks under my weight as I unceremoniously flop down on it, and I find myself looking at the paper under my grip. An invitation and a request to cover an event, the Wrights' housewarming party, tomorrow evening. If only it were that easy, but it'll give me a chance to talk to her. About the thing in her house. With a sigh, I let my hand fall to the side of the bed along with the invitation. Sorry, guys. I'll think about it tomorrow, when my head ain't muddled with the thoughts of a headless woman and the haunting smiles of a ghost. Belatedly, it occurs to me that the last meal I ate had been the one with Ashton, and an empty, gnawing ache makes itself known, but I can't bring myself to stand up. Okay, cool. See you in a bit, Fallout. I don't like this. The lack of certainty, the disquiet, the lack of stable ground to stand on, the part where I do not know what will come tomorrow. Ever since that damn letter, everything has been thrown out of the loop. I wish everything stayed the same. Routine would have been easier to make sense of than this. Closing my eyes, I let the noise from the sheets below lull me to sleep. At the very least, that's the one thing that hasn't changed. The melody carries into the hall long before I can cross the threshold. Solemn, but gentle and soothing, a reminder of what home is. Pa's firm but meaningful gaze, Ma's wistful smiles, the warm rays filtering through the eaves at sunset, the distinct smell of wet earth and leaves after a long day's rain. and our room. The room, Ma and Pa's pride and joy, place we were once promised several springs ago. Yet it won't stop.
No, wait! Come back! I'll be good this time! Please don't leave! Please stay!
The floorboards are cold under my feet, more than it usually is. The walls more forbidding than what I'm used to. Farther and farther the room goes. Ma's singing ceases, and Pa. I can't hear Pa. Not above the raucous clanging and the deafening roar of gunshots, nor the screams replacing the comforting soft melodies. There is only the blinding fear. When the light breaks, her skin has already taken a sickly pale colour, rotten in most parts, blood dripping from every open gash and lesion on her body. Bony hands gripped Hannah's neck like a noose, staining the skin underneath with a vibrant shade of scarlet. Nothing but malice fills the gleam in her eyes. A scream ripples through the air. Oh no, this isn't good. No. My whole body feels distant. Every limb heavy with lead, still unable to move at will. Not even so I can wipe the sweat of beads of sweat forming at my temple. The rasping of my breath easily fills the room in the wee hours, while I force it back into a steady rhythm. There is a tightness in my chest I can't shake off, my heart pounding against it as if it's about to burst out. Something cold has settled in my legs. Not the usual chill that comes and goes with the passing breeze from the window, but one strong enough to sting, shackle, and leave a frigid sensation creeping up my skin. With every struggle I make, the pressure winds firmly around my legs. Tighter, and tighter, and tighter. All until it becomes too much. My heart stops. Another draft sweeps into the room and brings with it the iron tang of blood. Thick, suffocating, filling my nose with a foul, sickening smell as I shift my gaze downwards and it slowly comes into view. Mouth stretched in a hideous smile and eyes brimming with nothing but madness. Stench of gore taints the air around me, and I can't look away. Okay, that is literally one of my worst fears. From it. From the terror and death that her uncanny, twisted features alone scream. I try to open my mouth, to shout, to ask for any help, but my voice has left my body altogether. All I have is the painful realization that no kind of plea will save me from her. Then suddenly, the bed dips. Everything is not okay, guys! No. This is fine. Yeah, because I sometimes have sleep paralysis, and it's also one of my worst fears. Like if I don't have sleep paralysis and I do the thing from The Grudge where I lift up the blanket and I look down and there's someone looking back at me. Just, and then they start crawling. No. The brutal plunge back into myself jerks me awake. There is no ear-splitting scream, no wild thrashing of limbs. Just a painful, constricting awareness that something has wound itself tightly around my neck. I waste no second pulling it, a blanket, away, but allow myself a few minutes to steady my breathing before getting off the bed. Inhale, hold, exhale. 1 step, 2 steps, 3. But the dreams have gotten worse. Ever since 2 days ago, no longer are they the small cursory flashes that I'm used to, but vivid ones that linger. I can still feel the blood in my hands, the putrid smell of rotting flesh, the sickening crunch of bones breaking with every movement, and her cold, chilling eyes as they bore into me. I drew in one long, ragged breath, and before I know it, I'm walking out the door. Sleep paralysis is a phenomena where you're in the middle of like deep REM cycle sleep, so your body is completely still and unable to move. But then it might be like a muscle spasm or something like that, where your eyes open. So your subconscious is generating images, but you're physically able to see your surroundings. So because you're physically unable to move or react in any way, but your subconscious isn't activated, things like people see like demons sitting on their chest, or they might see like doctors standing around their beds like holding them down. Like, it manifests in different ways. A lot of the time for me it manifests in kind of monstrous figures that stand on the side around my bed and stuff like that. For me it's more like it's eerie, and because I don't like feeling powerless, so that's why it freaks me out. But for a lot of people, yeah, they see things like creatures sitting on top of their chest. Like, if you're familiar with the creepypasta The Rake, something similar to that, like something kind of sitting on their chest, like, or like really close to their face. So yeah, honestly, it's one of those things that you kind of just have to wait out and then try to get back to sleep, or you just try to force your eyes to close again. I draw in one long, ragged breath, and before I know it, I'm walking out the door. Even in the waking world, it reeks. A bench on the park is far from the most private place for thoughts in Luxburn, considering its location in the heart of a bustling city. But in the early hours of the morning, it provides enough space, peace and quiet for any poor problematic soul who happens to wander here. Hey, no problem, Fallout. The city is just waking up, a little later than usual. But knowing what day it is, one can't fault it for being a little tardy just this once. Yet neither the pleasant morning chill nor the soft twittering of birds does anything to banish the images. Oh, excuse me. Every single one has rooted itself in my head, its claws digging deep into what is no longer a safe place to hide in. It used to be easy, finding some pretense of peace under the guise of sheer optimism, following regular routine. Now I don't know what to make of it. Sometimes it's easier to run, easier to hide when everything's falling apart. That way you don't have to be the first to witness when it does. It worked when things went bad with the movie, after all. It also worked when Ma and Pa were taken from us. Maybe it really is better if I just... Oh, little kids in horror games, like, bad juju. No, no, go away. A tiny voice gives me pause. When I look up, a little girl, maybe 6 or 7, is peering at me. 2 wide eyes, overflowing with what can only be the natural curiosity one typically sees in children. I vaguely note the St. Goretti uniform she's wearing before returning her greeting.
Hey, kid.
Kylie.
Kylie?
That's my name. Mama said it's rude not to call people by their names.
She then flops down on the empty space beside me. Oh shit, I'm so sorry for all our kids. Shit, man, I really hope that he's okay. I mean that seriously. Or that he's going to be okay. Her little legs, still too short to touch the ground, swings in tune with the song she hums under her breath. I don't mind kids. Nana would often fight the ones in our old neighborhood to give them treats. Of course, by then Sis and I were both too old to play with them, but you get used to the commotion eventually. It's not completely as unpleasant as most people would imply. Kylie seems to be a well-behaved kid anyway.
Oh, sorry. Nice to meet you, Kylie. Is Mama here?
No, but my big brother's with me. He's taking pictures with his camera over there.
She points to the far end of the park, the one closest to the street where a kid is taking shots of something above him. It doesn't look to be birds because they were all there on their side of the park are buildings.
I don't see what's so interesting embarrassing with the tip of a building, though. I'd take pictures of dogs if I were him. They're cute.
Very good point, Kylie.
Do you have a camera too, mister?
Yeah, I'm actually a photographer.
Mama said I'm too young to get a camera.
I'm sure your mama will eventually give you one. But won't you be late for school like this?
Big brother will get us there on time. Rowan promised Papa. We aren't going to be late. It's sports day. So it's not good if you keep looking like that today. If it ends up raining and we lose, it's your fault.
Okay, fuck you, kid.
Alright, I'll try not to upset the clouds today, kid.
Is it because you're sick, mister?
Before I know it, a smile has spread over my face. They say kids ask the toughest questions sometimes, and they sure do, but with how sincere Kylie looks. Lying feels like I'm doing her a huge disservice.
No, not sick. Just having a very, very bad day.
Why is that? Is that like when my big brother ate all of my pudding? He did that once and then cried. It wasn't very nice of him.
Yeah, I think so. You see, there's this mean girl. She's given my friends and I a lot of trouble. Hard to keep up when things are like that, you know? Especially when you can't do anything. It's kind of scary. Makes you wish things will just stay as peaceful as they used to be.
Cool. See you in a bit, Shadowfang. Chips sound really good right now, too.
Maybe she just wants to be friends with you?
I highly doubt that. She already hurt one of my friends.
What if she's just sad? Or maybe she just wants help. That's what happened with Melody. I let her borrow my crayon when she left hers. Now we're playmates.
It's not really the same thing, Kylie. What she did, they're pretty bad things.
I still think there's another reason. Did you try talking to her? That's what Mama said I should do.
I don't think that'll work either.
You haven't even tried yet. You sound like Rowan. You're just scared, mister.
That strikes a chord. Maybe it's the honesty in her tone or simply the truth in the words itself. I don't know why, but I can't help it. I laugh. Loud enough to disturb an elderly couple taking a leisurely walk nearby.
Why are you laughing?
That's nothing. You're a really smart kid, you know that?
That's what I've been doing, ain't it? Go full speed ahead and then backtrack when the going gets tough. Stay in my safe zone because that's what I know. Once, Dr. Navarro said I should be the first one willing to deal with my problems before anyone else. I didn't show up for our next appointment after that. But he's right. And though I hate to admit it, knowing what I've seen, but the kid makes a good point too. Been so caught up in thinking might not be a way out. Maybe there isn't, or maybe there is. But that doesn't mean I should just give up on it. So just leave it up to fate. Aren't spirits supposed to be humans before, too? Have people they cared about, lived a life of their own, smiled and laughed like the rest of us does? Did they really lose all of that after death?
You better get to school, though, or you'll miss sports day. You should have won yourself some awards, alright?
Alright. Can I show it to you when I do? That can cheer people up, right?
In the distance, her brother calls for her, and I took that as a sign to leave. Got things to do, to face. The first few steps, they say.
Nah, I'm good now, I think. Thanks to you. Besides, Mister needs to go. But you should show it to Mama and Papa. I'm sure they'll be proud of you, Kylie.
I will. Thanks, mister. Bye.
I give her a little pat on the head before heading on my way. A small gesture of thanks from a stranger she didn't know she might have helped. She may not understand it now, but though at such a young age she already has this understanding of things. But maybe when she's older, when the world no longer seems too big for her.
But aren't you going to help me, mister?
That required some wine. Okay, we're doing this.
With what?
Confused, I glance back. Whatever cheer our little talk brought had vanished under the shadow suddenly dancing in my eyes. This frigid air is most definitely not how the morning chill should feel like. Bitter, stinging, unwelcome. I know, you guys in the chat fucking called it. She's a demon. And the kid.
What do you think, mister? Are you going to help me?
What do you want from us?
The response never comes, however. Because when I blinked, gone.
Hello? Mister? Are you okay?
For several passing seconds, I let my stare linger on her face, waiting for any sign of another change. But all that remains there is the carefree smile of a child. None of the spite, none of the cold, bloody smile.
Nothing. I really need to go, Kylie. It was nice meeting you.
See you again, mister!
I break into a run. I don't look back, not even as I bump into a couple of passers-by as soon as I'm out on the busy streets. Going insane. This is what it is. And if we don't do something soon, we all will be. The tremors follow me even as I get home. I'd hoped a little stroll around the block for a few hours would help. Instead, I'm assaulted with more images of her. Her smile, the loathing in her eyes, the stench of gore, the hard crunch that comes with every movement she makes. Even old memories have been sullied by her, and Ma's song no longer sounds as sweet as it meant to be. In the end, all I got is the sinking feeling I will never be rid of her image, and another ridiculous idea that may or may not even work. The sun is already hanging low on the horizon when I make it back. For the first time, coming home feels more like a chore. Only, I didn't arrive to an empty room. Because as soon as I open the door, I am greeted by none other than...
Sup, Z-Man?
Hey!
I told you we should have called him before going here.
It's fine.
It is Ashton I see first, sitting comfortably on my couch, munching on a bag of chips with both feet propped up on the coffee table. Whatever proverbial stone has made his home in the pit of my stomach automatically flies right out the window at the sight of him. But before any exasperation can set in, my attention is shaken by the other occupant in the room. Isabella perches on the only other chair in the room, attempting to make herself smaller, it seems, from how closely she's hugging her arms against her. Nevertheless, she gives me a small smile when she notices my stare. Yet somehow, there ain't any warmth in it like it's supposed to have.
Hey, Zach. Sorry we just barged in here. Ash was...
Relax. Z-Man gave me a copy of the key himself.
Only after you broke the 13th one? I can't keep replacing them every time you think it'd be a good idea to break into my apartment. And stop calling me Z-Man!
I didn't break anything this time.
Ash, just because I gave you a key doesn't mean you can just stroll in here whenever you want to. And, hey, is that my...
Ash smirks at me, because, of course, he has the gall to smirk knowing what he did. He pops in what's very likely the last piece of chip into his mouth, and folds the wrapper neatly on the table before throwing it in the nearby trash. From her chair, Isabella shoots me an apologetic smile as soon as the foil hits the waste bin with a dull thunk. Common sense dictates that I should be angry, but after everything, having something normal play out in front of me, no matter how childish their antics can get, I can't bring myself to muster even a tidbit of it. Behind me, the television starts blaring the music for the end credits of a movie. They have likely been waiting for a while, if Ash has gotten impatient enough to rummage through my cupboards and watch something.
Of course he eats all of it. You know, I was saving that for the weekend.
That's fantastic news, Fallouts kids. Seriously, I hope you have a wonderful time for your wedding. Oh, of course you will have a wonderful time. I thought you were originally a guest at the wedding, but it's your wedding day. That's awesome. Congratulations. That's fantastic. So I'm so glad your cousin's able to join you. Especially for your big day.
Did you at least share some with Bella?
Don't worry about it. I'm good, Zach.
Really? It's free food, you know? What was that you usually say? You don't say no to free food? What happened?
No, I'm just not hungry.
Ash only shrugs at the question in my eyes. I can't be the only one who finds this vibe she's giving off to be odd, and the guy's no doubt already caught wind of it.
Aye. But if you want something, just say so. I've got a fully restocked pantry right here at your disposal. Still not a 5-star level thing, but for an empty stomach, it'd do. Just say the word.
Thanks, Zach. Maybe next time. Food is not really what we came here for. Ash, he's the one who...
She casts a brief glance at Ash, and in an instant he sits up. Every trace of amusement is gone from his face as he clasps his hand in front of him and leans forward. Okay, it's your cousin's wedding. In that case, congratulations to your cousin, and it sounds like it's going to be an amazing day. A minuscule gesture meant to ease, yet the grim expression on him tells a different story altogether.
Alright, you two, what's this about? I don't like those looks. What I said was weird, I'm aware of that. But I'm not taking it back. Isabella's not the only one here who's seen it.
A short but tense pause follows. They're both stalling. Under normal circumstances, I'd wait. With these two, the more you force it, the more they'll clamp down on it. But as a handful of seconds continues to slip by, the unsettling feeling in me also grows with it. Soon it turns into impatience. Before I can demand a response, though, one of them finally speaks up. It is Ashton who breaks first.
I'm not asking you to. No, you're right. There really are some odd things going on here lately.
How is everything with you lately, Zach?
Hold on, Ash. Both of you. Did I just hear you say that? Is this why Isabella's here? Has something happened?
Calm down, we're just here to check on things. So, did you meet Andrew about the photos?
What photographs?
Said photographs have been sitting untouched since the day I dumped them in my drawer. Isabella goes very still when I hand her the small stack. To her credit, she does not flinch like I'm expecting her to, and flips through each of it in silence. But while her eyes remain strangely calm, her hands have gone rigid and her mouth is set into a thin line. She, out of all people, understands what this means. In hindsight, she should have been the one I approached before Ash.
What did Andrew say about them?
It could be one, but there's no guarantee it's a supernatural thing. It doesn't always happen, so that's a dead end right there. Now that I think about it, bothering that guy for this feels pretty silly now, but with the dreams lately.
I'm flattered that your cousin would love to meet me, but I prefer to build up a bit more of a relationship with people online before I meet them physically. Like, it was 3 years before I met Murphy and the other narrators for the first time, so I'm really flattered, but at the moment I'm kind of hesitant to meet up people in person. Like, online friends and fans in person, at least for now.
That's all? Did he say anything about the damn letter at all? Did you ask him even?
I pause, glancing at him skeptically. I don't know where this sudden curiosity is coming from. But if Ashton, calm, cool, collected, always logical Ashton, takes interest in this, something or someone must have fucked shit up somewhere. It's also, like, I haven't done a face reveal yet, so I'm hesitant to meet up with fans in person quite yet. Maybe after, like, I've done a face reveal and, like, if it's something I'm, like, going to be at a London convention or pop culture event or something like that, then I'll let you guys know if I'm going to be there in, like, different towns for different events, and then you can try and find me somehow. Seconds pass. The apocalypse I'm expecting to go along with it doesn't arrive, however.
Yeah, that's really everything. The letter kind of slipped my mind. The photos were more important at that time. There was some stuff about the local horror stories, though. Talked about the curses, and he was really fascinated with the story about a wraith asking for a sacrifice to move on. Kinda nasty if you ask me, but it does make sense if you simply go along with it.
Yeah, and like I've given hints about what I look like in the past. I'm just like hesitant to do like a full face reveal, but I do plan on doing one, because then I can do things like start posting like cosplay ideas that I have, because I want to start making cool like cosplays for like my persona and some other characters, and eventually do other like cool things like that, and like be a part of Murphy's Mad Murphy streams and stuff like that. Thanks, Shadowfang, I appreciate that. This is something that I'm still like testing the waters with, but I know when the time is right, the time's right.
I'm not sure how this will help in the grand scheme of things. Why are you asking about this anyway?
Rose's death isn't just a coincidence, Zach. It may have something to do with... I may have...
Wait. Stop right there for a sec, Bella. I thought you ain't buying this stuff, Ash. Just the other day, you said the exact same thing.
I still don't, but even Rebecca, out of all people, claims there's something. Whatever this is, someone has got to look into it. Everything about this screams shady.
Are you sure you even have the time? Ain't you busy with your current case?
I got taken off that one.
You didn't say you were taken off your case.
I just got the news this morning. Apparently the higher-ups think I'm doing a horrendous job at it. It doesn't matter though. If these two cases are connected like I initially thought, then regardless, I'm on the right track.
Are you sure we should even be doing this?
Doing what exactly?
There's someplace we'll visit after this.
Too vague for comfort, Ash. And please don't tell me you're bringing her with you.
His affirmation comes in the form of a stare, but that alone says all I need to know. What I pointed out gives him pause, though, and his voice is thick with hesitation when he addresses Bella.
You know what? Zach's right, Isabella. You don't have to come with me.
It's not myself I'm worried about. It's you. I'll just do this myself, if it'll get you into more trouble with your superiors. At least I can make up an excuse why I need to be there.
Don't be ridiculous. You're not walking in there without me. Besides, I think it's a little too late to back out now. Have you two seen the news this morning?
I haven't, actually. Mama called, and I was busy.
The change in the air around her, while small, cannot have gone unnoticed, and it takes every willpower not to ask. Probably the only thing reigning in my curiosity is the fact that Ash himself haven't brought it up either.
No problem. It should be in the afternoon news as well.
He grabs the remote and cycles through numerous channels, until he gets to a news report about another guy who's been found dead in the early hours of the morning today. Burned alive this time. Oddly, no fire has spread, and whatever damage has been contained within the place, the body was found. The room itself, however, has been completely vandalized. Help me. Help me. Help me. Stenland, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome to the Blue Rose Respite. You're more than welcome to join us here. Get to know the people in the chat. They're amazingly welcoming and warm. So thank you so much for the follow. Isabella and I knew better. None of us shifts even after the report ends, but the room has suddenly felt stifling. Ashton's eyes have gone hooded with what appears to be restrained anger, and the remote in his hands creaks mildly under his grip. The stone is back in my stomach. A tiny little thing gripping at my insides, growing with every passing second as the dread sinks in. In the thick of it, Isabella's voice is the one that breaks the hush. A small, weak thing on its own that wavers unevenly between words, but every syllable heavy with meaning.
This is because of that thing, isn't it? I did this somehow.
When it fades, all that's left in the air is her doubt and fear, while all we can do is cope. Is there something I could say to make her feel better? Yeah, that seems perfect.
It ain't too late. We could still fix this. There's 3 of us here. 4 if you count Rebecca.
No, she's staying away from this.
She lifts her gaze at me, eyes steady and shoulders squared as she holds it against the baffled look I give her. Although in the next second it immediately softens, and it takes me by surprise nevertheless. In those brief moments, it's like I faced a different person.
I don't want to involve her in this any more than I already have. Both of you as well.
I already said it. That's completely out of the question. Stop asking.
Still in all, that's 2 extra heads who can do the thinking. Between us 3, I'm sure we'll figure something out pretty soon.
Don't make this whole thing sound like it's a piece of cake to deal with.
It ain't. But better than sitting around, yeah? Plan is still a plan.
You're going to shoot yourself in the foot one day with that kind of thinking. We don't even know who's doing this. The last 2 murders might just be similar incidents done by 2 different suspects.
Hasn't stopped you from going after them before. Remember that time when you...
Okay, stop right there. There will be no retelling of that incident today, Z-Man. Or ever.
Keep calling me Z-Man and maybe I will.
Suddenly, Isabella laughs. Though muffled by her hands, it rings light and easy against the thick tension in the room. Still a far cry from the usual cheer she carries, but brings a welcome shift in the otherwise dreary mood.
Thanks, you two.
I'll tell you about it when he's not around.
Give it up, Z-Man. She's not interested.
Who says I'm not?
Ash makes a face but chuckles at the jest despite himself.
Why am I even friends with you two?
And like this, most of our worries ebb away, if only for a few moments. They take their leave mere minutes close to sundown. But regardless of the lighter mood, little has been said of their plans, only vague hints of what they're aiming to do after. While it ain't any of my business to know, something about this whole thing still gnaws at me. A tiny passing thought urges me to do something as well. At this hour, the streets are once again busy with people heading home after a hard day's work. Little of the bustle matters to them as they step out to the crowded walkway, however. Ash especially. There's only his goal in his mind, and I'd wager there's nothing I can do to stop him at this point. He's probably decided on it long before they made the decision to drop by. But despite this, Isabella lags behind. A worried crease is back on her forehead as she watches Ash leave to get his car.
Something wrong, Bella?
No, actually, can you check on Becca for me after this? I really didn't get the chance to tell her where I'm headed off to. Tell her I'm okay, and we're... No, just that.
You sure I should skip on that part? If she finds out about this, she'll be angry. I don't really want to deal with angry Rebecca. It gives me a stomachache just thinking about it.
Neither do I, but I'll handle it if she gets mad. Just make sure she's safe and tell her to be careful. You too. Take care of yourself.
Almost abruptly she pauses, the gaze in her eyes hardening as she lapses into another one of those long, distant silences from earlier. This ain't just because of the whole fiasco with the letter anymore.
I don't want what happened to Rose to happen to you guys as well.
This one cut deeper. Before I can ask about it, Ashton returns, swinging his car keys on one hand and gestures at Isabella.
Come on, we don't have much time. Shirley's waiting.
Who's sure? Oh, right. Don't answer that. I don't want to hear it, you huge dork.
Says the person who gave her stuffed toys names. Batcat? Really?
It's cute. Yours is just weird.
I'll see you later, Zach.
He spares me another smile. She spares me another smile, and as I watch her walk off, only now did it occur to me that none of those she gave today ever reach her eyes. I make a grab for the back of Ash's parka. He staggers briefly before correcting himself and shooting me a confused stare.
Is she alright?
What? Who's okay?
Isabella. She's been, I don't know, out of it today? Did something happen earlier?
The scowl on his face says it all.
She's actually been like that this morning. I'll ask, but...
Just do me a favor and watch over her. We have no idea what we're dealing with. I don't know what happened to her since the last time I saw her, but from how she's been doing today, whatever it is, seems like a pretty big deal. Wait, you didn't annoy her again, did you? Because I swear to God, if you did, you've got another thing coming for you.
What? No, why would I? Just so you know, I already apologized for the one at the movie house. Granted, she deserved more of an apology, but I meant it that time.
I'm just asking. I'll take your word for it. But if you can find out what's bothering her, that'd be nice. Honestly, I don't think it's the letter this time.
I'll see what I can do.
Make sure you keep yourself out of harm's way, alright?
Yeah, you too. Don't do anything reckless again.
Reckless, no. But I can't make you to promise I won't do anything. After seeing that, there's no way in hell I'm going to pretend there ain't a problem when there is. This is a really big one, and I'll be damned if I let anything happen to you guys while I sit here. I'm done running when things get tough.
He's about to argue for a moment, but...
Look, bro, if things ain't good, I'll be the first one out. But allow me this one thing, alright? Just this one time. If it doesn't work out, we'll be the first one to know. You can laugh then, or berate me all you want. But please don't ask me to step aside like I'm incapable of doing anything to help.
I have no idea if it's the look on my face or the tone of my voice. Ultimately, although his mouth presses into a thin line, he nods.
Alright, stay safe, Zach.
When he stumbles into the sidewalk and allows the afternoon crowd to swallow him whole, I like to think the tiny gleam in his eyes is the closest we can get to optimism in this situation. Whether that alone will be enough to give me a peaceful sleep tonight remains to be said. Night falls, and despite my best attempts, sleep continues to elude me. With her image still stuck in my head, flashing every few moments, it catches me off guard, with Mars' lullaby still echoing in my ears, no longer the soft tune it once was. And the terrible gnawing at the pit of my stomach. It's no wonder I can't bring myself to drift off even for a little while. It is not as if a complete lack of things to do while waiting for sleep to come, if it ever will. And at 2:45 in the morning, I find myself cleaning my photography equipment, for no other reason than just to pass time. Though, if I am to be honest, it's not the night terrors that are keeping me wide awake tonight, but the anxiety and the hope I'll hear from Ash or Isabella soon. And for what's perhaps the 42nd time, my eyes shift over to the end of the table where my phone lies still. I've not heard from them since they left. I haven't promised to call, of course, but a small part of me wishes they would have the common sense at the very least. Waiting is a tough game, and with the concern stretching out the minutes far longer than usual, it's impossible for more unpleasant thoughts not to enter my mind. Moreover, it does not help that when the clock finally strikes 3, my hand stills. It would be complete and utter lie if I said my heart didn't leap straight into my throat in that brief second. My whole body has gone motionless, ears straining for any further sounds. A couple of tense seconds pass. Nothing. Of course, with how old the building I'm staying in, power fluctuations ain't anything new. Every now and then, this would happen, leaving a few tenants in a rather bad mood. Nothing unusual anymore after a few years of living here. But this time, the sudden hush brings with it a stillness that's raised the hair on the back of my neck and set my heart beating hard against my chest. Something reeks in the air, and in an instant this place is no longer home. It's a prison. Every rational fibre in my being screams at me to leave. I force myself to swallow and keep a clear head as I lay down all my cleaning tools and begin gathering together the rest of the things scattered around on the table. The camera's body, lenses, filters, diffuser, phone, anything my hand could reach, but in the resulting panic, like in the nightmares, it is the scent that reaches me first. A foul, putrid smell filling my lungs with the heavy stink of death. My fingers clamp tightly to the camera, holding it closer to my body as if the tiny thing would provide enough protection to whatever is with me in the room. It won't, but it's the only comfort I have. And knowing that whoever she is, she had once been human. Perhaps not all of it is gone. Perhaps some of it is still there.
Hello? I know you're in here. What do you want?
Something moves behind me, a soft scuttling over the walls, followed by the squelch and painful creaking of what can only be rotten flesh and broken bones. Without hesitation, I whirl around, my fingers and camera ready, patiently waiting for another movement.
I can help you. Whatever it is that keeps you here, I can help. That's what the letter's for, ain't it? You don't have to keep taking people's lives.
There's a brief moment of silence after. For a short while, I think my pleas worked. Then, with no warning, the shuffling resumes, and along with it are the sobs of a woman. Okay, shit, okay. Ah! Ooh. Oh god, you can hear her in one ear and... Ah! Fuck! The light flashes fleetingly one last time, allowing me a glimpse of her grotesque, misshapen features before it is once again lost in the darkness. All of a sudden, her tune changes, no longer a soft cry, but a high-pitched shriek brimming with pain, grief, and anger. Every ounce of courage I've mustered flees from my body at the sound, and the next thing I know, my hand is gripping the knob, and I'm wrenching the door open. Her wails follow me as I flee into the night. Pacing has always been more of Ashton's thing than mine. When I want to think, I sit down and let the minutes tick until an idea comes to mind or my pulse settles down. And yet, dry leaves and twigs crack under my shoes as I make another pass at them. Terror is too mild to describe what this is. There's no way in hell I'm going back. Whatever she is, pleading won't work. The moment we saw the letter, she's been after us.
But I can't run. Not this time.
Nearly 2 hours have gone by since I left the comfort of my room for the solitude of the park. 2 excruciating hours since I've started making calls. No one's answering. Not even Rebecca, who has always kept her phone line open in case other people need her. Or Isabella, who frequently checks hers for any messages and readily responds as soon as she can afford. I did get a bit freaked out because, I'm not sure if you could tell, but her sobs, to help kind of figure out where she was, they go in one ear and out the other. So kind of depending on where your camera's pointed in the room, it was kind of like a warmer, colder sort of thing to kind of help you figure out where she's hiding. Ugh. Blech. It does not help that Ash hasn't said a word where he went off to as well.
Damn it! I knew I should have asked him before I let him leave.
Knowing him, he can be anywhere. But there's really only one place he'll likely be at this time. The sun has already peeked over the horizon when I make it to the mansion. I have no idea what I'm expecting to see when I got there. There's Ashton, first and foremost. Part of me wishes my assumptions are correct, and he's really somewhere close by on a stakeout. But I've never been the lucky sort when it comes to that kind of guessing. And even after I've made a round of the immediate vicinity, I couldn't find neither hide nor hair of him. Calling him does no good either, considering how awful the signal here is. He can't be too far if he's really here. Sorry. Oh, sorry, I'm really sleepy tonight. But if he is, he would have already noticed me by now. Instead, there is only silence. The kind too quiet to find any sort of comfort in. Even the trees seem to have fallen asleep with the rest of the mansion, oblivious to what's happening around it. A small island of stillness in the otherwise fast-paced world. No wonder the whole of Anselm feels at odds with the rest of Luxborn. While the city is alive, growing every minute, breathing every second, and pulsating with life, the village remains unmoving, unchanged. It's not surprising the legend still lives up to this day, and why she's still here, walking its hallowed halls. And beyond me, the mansion looms ominously. But now ain't the time for fear. Even if Ash is not here, I've got to let the Wrights know what I've seen, what's in their home. And whatever grievance Ash has with them, it doesn't matter. There might be grounds for imprisonment, but they don't deserve a brutal death at the hands of one malicious spirit. And I'm sure Isabella would want the same thing. I head straight for their door without a second thought. It takes a few rings, the sound loud above the foreboding stillness, before I hear footsteps on the other side. Oh yay, it's everyone's favourite asshole. Hey, you seem even more pissed off than usual, Luke. I missed you. Before long, the door swings widely open, with Mr. Luke Wright standing behind it. Seething would be a complete understatement to describe him. Like this, I've got no doubt why Ash would find him a suspect.
You? How the hell did you get in here? What in seven hells do you want?
There's a great many things I want, Luke. Your head on a silver platter for one of them.
It's bloody 6 in the morning!
Listen, sir, I know this is not a good time.
Oh, it's not a good time. Did you even check the clock before coming here? I bet you didn't. Unlike you, the ones living in this house need to sleep. Come back when people are actually awake, or I'll call security on you.
Before I can get a word in, he slams the door in my face and bolts it shut with much finality.
Wait, sir, you gotta hear me out. You're both in danger if you stay in there. Have you seen the news lately? Everything's not a coincidence.
Only silence answers me. Maybe if it was Mr. Wright, maybe if it was Miss Wright. Oh, who am I kidding? There are limits to how far a person will believe in you. Then again, I didn't believe Isabella when she warned us. And now I'm here, desperately trying to save people, even if I'm aware it's completely out of my capacity to do so. Is this what they call karma? If so, this is one horrible way of turning things around. Taking people's lives, playing with people's fears, making them feel useless.
You're around, ain't you? You here? Inside this house? Listening, watching, or whatever it is that you spirits do? What did they do to you? I can help you, you know? If it'll let you move on, I'll gladly do so. You don't have to kill anyone.
Nothing. I don't even know who I'm talking to, or if a sane person is supposed to be doing that. The only thing I got after is a feeling of foolishness washing over me. Or perhaps this is just me losing my mind. Out of other options and any other ideas, I let my hand slide off the door's surface and fall listlessly to my sides. I can go back to Luxborn, try to find the others, try to get out of this mess with them, or let them know how much in deep shit we all are. Both sound good. Either way, my loitering here isn't helping at all. I let the quietness calm me for a few more minutes before standing up and heading out to fetch my bike. It's quite a distance to Luxborn, but if I hurry, I'll reach it in maybe... The rustling stops as soon as I turn around and strain my ears for any other movements around me.
Yo, Ash, you there?
No answer. If he is here, I've just missed him earlier. Already my feet are moving in search of him for the second time. It won't hurt to double check. Oops. Sorry about that. Triple check even. With how big the property is, he could be anywhere. If things ain't so urgent, if they ain't so dire with lives that are at stake, I'd probably have just waited for him to show up again.
But damn it! He needs to realize what exactly it is he's dealing with.
That is just not a petty criminal he can simply throw in jail, That is something beyond the authority his police badge could ever give him. The guy needs to stop playing the big damn hero. Sit down and chill. My breath comes in short, shallow rasps by the time I make it back to where I started. Still, no sign of him, and I'm beginning to think I'm just wasting my time here. But that is when I hear it. I'd recognize the melody in a heartbeat. Ma's favorite song. I listen for a while, trying to gauge where exactly from the house it's coming from. My feet start moving before I can stop them. And there, as I circle a corner, from a room in the first floor, a single window is open, but I can't make out whoever's inside. However, I'm sure the singing comes from there. Still, while I hear an old tune here of all places, I won't know. It's not an obscure song by all means, but it is pretty rare to find someone who knows this. And for some reason, death seems to follow this song around. Panic lodges itself at the base of my throat at once. Whoever's humming might be. I don't want to be a pessimist now, but on off chance that it is Miss Wright.
Shit.
I shouldn't just barge in there. I could put myself in danger before I can save anyone. Ash will tell me so in the exact same words. Might even write me a dissertation why it's a bad idea if he ain't so lazy. But damn it, god damn it! Someone could be in danger. I think he should keep looking for Ash, but I'm gonna leave this one up to you guys. Should we follow the scary, scary melody into the house and possibly investigate someone who might be in trouble? Or should we keep looking for Ash? Culture goes first for window. Okay. Oh god, it's even! Yeah, good point. I'll save it quickly. The thing about this game is that if you do make a choice that then ultimately leads to maybe a slightly more sinister ending, it doesn't like unveil itself for a long time, and then it feels like cheating for this thing because I'm streaming it to then go back and select the other option. Because in this one I'm trying to play like one long cohesive story. So we have 3 for window and 2 for keep looking for Ash. Any last votes for what I'm going to do? Because the question is, do you really want to put most amazing friend Zachary in the possible danger? Or do you think he should keep looking for his friend? Yeah, but then that's cheating, Culture Ghost. Like, I completely get where you're coming from, and if I was playing it on my own, then yeah, totally. But I'm trying to just keep, like, one long story, so... Okay, so we've got 4 votes for window and 2 for Ash. Sorry guys, I'm gonna have to, like... You decided. I'm gonna look for where the strange song was coming from. I can search for Ash, but what if it's too late by then? With how big this place is, he can be anywhere, and it's very likely by the time we come back, someone's already bit the dust. And and the cries grow louder against my ear the longer I linger. Almost impossible to ignore, drawing me in like a moth to a flame. For a moment, I let myself shudder, shaking the uneasy feeling off my head. This can't be a good idea, not by a long shot. Still, I've got to try. Funnily enough, for a couple as high profile as the Wrights, they don't seem to have any security detail patrolling around. A few guards here and there, sure, but one will expect they'll have more considering the size of this place. It works to my advantage though, and I really can't complain when there's a high chance I might get arrested for what I'm about to do. Luckily, the window's wide enough for me to fit through without making any noise. There's certainly no going back now. But as soon as I step into the parlour, all of it ceases, while I find no trace of the woman I heard crying like I'm expecting to. The room is still empty at the time of the morning, and I'm left standing awkwardly in the middle of the hush. Maybe she just hid somewhere.
Hello? Are you here? I heard someone earlier, and I'm here to help.
Hoping for an answer, I let the question hang in the air. But several seconds merely go by without a word, or the slightest movement to indicate that there is someone in here. Has been in here. With the stories I've heard, the things I've seen, it takes effort to keep my brain from going into that line of thought. Oops.
I'm not going to hurt you. If you're here, say something.
Nothing. Am I just hearing things? No, I'm pretty sure I heard someone. But with no one responding, I can't help but feel silly like this. And the awareness that I've trespassed a house for nothing because of some voice prickles at me. Suddenly, the silence feels uncomfortable, and a needling anxiety slowly creeps up my back. I should get out while I can. If it ain't here, it ain't here. I don't spare the room another glance when I walk back the way I came. Out into the window, leave before someone else notices.
I thought I heard a servant moving around here. Turns out it's just a rat scurrying about. How unpleasant.
My heart shoots up into my throat. I can run. The window is a few steps away. I should be able to escape. But instead, out of some foolish impulse, I turn around. Perhaps it's because the only impression the guy has left me in what few times we met is nothing but unsettling.
This ain't what you think it is.
You're quite the distance from the kitchen, I'm afraid. Perhaps I should lead you there.
Someone's in here before me. I wasn't here for what you're thinking. There was sobbing and...
The first blow knocks the wind out of me, sending me heaving and crumpling to my knees. Tears well up in my eyes as the pain swells when he twists my wrists behind my back.
You've got to listen to me.
Then again, dirty thieves aren't welcome in my kitchen either.
Well, you guys chose windows, so this is on your head. For a moment there is only silence and a sudden piercing ache, this time at the back of my head. The room abruptly tilts on an axis, dimming. On the verge of unconsciousness, I can only hear the scuffling of foot, the thud of the door being closed, and... a woman. Crying. Asking for help. I know no more. The pain is the worst when I come to. A sharp, piercing ache somewhere in the back of my head, begging to be noticed. But it's nothing I can't handle. Blearily, I open my eyes, expecting to be greeted by sunlight. However, the walls that welcome me are unfamiliar. When everything comes into focus, I recognize the place for what it is. A cell. Dark, cramped, with the only light coming from the moon outside, streaming through the sole window barred by thick metal bars. Memories rushes back in sharp bursts. The mansion looking for Ashton, a familiar tune, and a woman crying. All while my head still aches from the hit I've received.
Still better than a morgue, I guess.
Gingerly, I pull myself up, stretching the cramps from my shoulders as I do so, but stopping when a sudden movement induces an acute stinging pain right through my arm.
Damn, they got me good. What time is it?
As expected, they've taken everything I have on my person. Wallet, cell phone, my keys, meds, even a small pack of gum. Protocol is protocol. In the first place, ending back in another cell ain't my agenda. First time was not a pleasant experience. This certainly won't be either. Considering who has likely put me in here, it could be much worse. The bars are cold to my touch when I approach it, looking for the person on duty. They usually allow us to contact someone, and Ashton, at least, has to know I'm here. He'll be pissed if and I'm quite sure of it, but he's the only one who can help prove my innocence and get me out. However much I don't want to rely on him for this. The hallway in front of the cell is empty, but voices float through from further in, likely the poor officers assigned to late-night duty. Judging from the snippets of conversation I catch, today's topic over a snack is that moron who thought it wise to cross the rights. They used other names too, most of which I'll like to have words with them about in the future. But really, I'm in no position now.
Excuse me? Anyone?
Silence.
Excuse me! I need to make a...
Okay. Blood freezes in my veins and my grip on the bar tightens as a revolting scent reaches my nose. More than the gore, the foul smell of death hangs heavily in the air. And against my better judgment, I turn. Her face is the first thing I see. A gruesome sight on its own, eyes gleaming with nothing but malevolence, blood oozing from the large puncture wound on her head, mouth open wide and a voiceless scream. I clamp on the convulsion to retch. On instinct, I step back, putting as much distance in this cramped cell as they will allow between us. The bars rattle as soon as my shoulders hit it. A hindrance, not to freedom, but to safety.
You've got to stop this! We can't help you this way!
She moves, in short, sudden, bone-crunching twitches, and I know there is no escape. I'm screaming for help before I know it, jolting the bars with as much force as I could.
Somebody! Get me out of here! Anyone, please!
Bugger off! Some people are trying to get some sleep here!
Zachary, no!
No! She's here! You've got to let me out! She's gonna kill me! Someone! She's...
Oh, Zachary, I'm so sorry. Bye, Zachary. Yes, I'm glad I have my wine glass with me. No time wizard powers. I'm not going back. I'm sticking with the choices that are made in this playthrough. And we continue on to Marianne's chapter. 7:15 p.m. Numbers are so little at the top of my screen, and they glare at me with such intensity that I can just hear their accusations. I'm late for a night out with the girls, yes, but I have a perfectly good excuse. Jeez. Considering I didn't follow typical office hours, they really can't expect me to be able to just go as I please at 5:30 on the dot. The client is first and foremost my priority. I have to sit tight when my personal assistant, Chris, tells me we have a big one coming up and that I shouldn't miss this one. He knows a lot more about the who's who and the what's what when it comes to these socialites, and I trust that judgment call. I really don't have time for rich people, their drama and their politics. These sort who are born with silver spoons in their mouth, and who are used to wagging their silver tongues about. I let him handle the negotiating with them for the most part. Why else would I have hired him? But he told me I received a message about it an hour ago.
Now, if only he has the full shilling when it comes to the time.
come on, I have a social life too, you know. To an extent. Sort of. Pressing my head against the table, I tried to stave off an oncoming headache when the notification for a new email pops up. All I'm expecting is a, hey, look at this, this looks like a good project I found, go send them a design, or something like that really. That is often how it goes. Even with these rich, jammy clients who's heard of me from their equally rich, jammy friends, I can't expect them to hire me right off the bat. Which is all well and good and reasonable. We figure out what they want, send them my portfolio, my drafts for their projects, my rates, and hope for the best. This is a big client, Marianne. I'll babysit Bruthiel for you. Just please take this one project. I promise this person is huge in Luxburn. Mr. Parker, this is a formal request to secure the rights of Marianne McCulloch, herein call the designer, as authorized by Hannah Wright, hereinafter call the client, for interior design work at Ermengarde Mansion, Luxbourne, LX18, ORF, United Kingdom. Client hopes to have the designer here on 21st of October, Friday, with the time pending. But as I open the mail and see that I've been requested by the client specifically, well, I certainly didn't expect that, and it's pretty straightforward too. Anyone else would probably be excited. They will be working with the Hannah Wright. She's just one of those rich socialites that everyone loves to talk about, no matter how hard I tried to tune such nonsense out. It would have just been enough for me to reply an affirmative to Chris and leave, but he has never pleaded for me to take a project before. I've worked with big personalities in the past, celebrity, bankers, and even a few politicians. My PA is a bit indifferent about those. Okay, good luck with work, Culture Ghost. See you next Wednesday. Take care. So the question bounces about my skull before I spy one of the email attachments. A newspaper clipping from the Luxbourne Daily Business news section, boasting the headline, Wright Enterprise donates 2.5 to refuge. It certainly caused quite a stir back then. Apparently, they had invited businessmen and socialites everywhere, in the guise of it being some big business announcement. I can use words.
$2.5 million and an expensive-looking party to boot. These people sure know how to throw their money around.
Not that I should be so careless. They're going to do a lot of good and help a community of people with all those pounds. I, of all people, shouldn't criticize such acts whether they were for show or not. At the very least, I know they'll be able to pay my rates. With the headline out of the way, however, I find myself staring at the picture that came along with the clipping. Because, wow, here I am expecting a sour old woman in a blazer and skirt. But the woman that was plastered on the front page looks like she belongs on the front page of the entertainment section, or even, if I am to be crass, as the pin-up for a glamour... Okay, I'll be real here. A men's magazine. She sure knows how to rock that dress. Wait. Her hair. Her eyes, her lips. She can't be her. At the same time, she is her. Only several years older. She looks just like... No, come on, Mac. The world is full of pretty blondes. It's just a coincidence. With a shake of my head, I snap out of it and reach out for my phone when it buzzes, nearly falling off my chair in the process. Who else would be on the other line but the very people waiting for me?
Oh, piss. I'm so sorry, Cam. I'm on my way.
That's what I say. Yet, I still don't move from my chair, face flushed and heart racing. I can only stare until I can will myself to reply that yes, I'm accepting this assignment. And it takes even more time for me to just close the image, shut down the computer, and leave. Even then, it has already burned its image into my head, no matter how much I wish it would just disappear. Makes me eager for the alcohol and the company. Makes me eager for anything that can help me forget. It's a good thing that the nearest pub is just a hop, skip, and a jump from here. The Galway Shoal, as it is called by those who frequented the place, is the only decent Irish pub in this country. You can still pretty much tell that someone is new if they call it by its official name, the Crawl Bar. My home away from home ever since I moved to Luxburn. Well, that is when I'm not cooped up in my condo and working anyway. It has good alcohol, good company, and, thank God and St. Cecilia, good music. Crowd favourites like the Bothy Noise, the High Wesleyan Man, and Second Fusion Orchestra are often played. Not to mention the singing. I love singing. Anyone could just break out into a drinking song, and the others in the pub were just wonderful that they'd start singing along. And doing so while intoxicated is the best way to go about it. Hey, it's a win-win as long as I don't puke in the middle of the chorus, and as long as I can get home in one piece at the end of the day. And tonight is karaoke night. What better time than to try and sing all my worries away? That's what my intoxicated brain tells me.
The ghost of guilt and sorrow remembers who I am, and in the prison of my heart, I was my only slave.
But drinking only reminds me of my home, and the thoughts of home that make me think of her.
But in the depths of my cold soul, I'll leave the burden and despair.
It makes me nauseous. It sickens me that the smallest reminder of her can cause me such grief.
I'll fight for what's worth fighting for. Forget the fear, forget the rest.
Of course, that might just be the booze. Any other day I would have scolded myself for drinking so much.
I lied to the Lord, I lied to myself, I lied to you and everyone I care, until there were no more lies to tell.
But I already have a client, and we'll be having our first little meet and greet in a few days.
Cowardice is easier than being brave, but at last I found the strength I lost to sing my love letter to you. 'Cause people can lie, but my lone heart beats true.
I want to at least enjoy this night, get over the hangover tomorrow, and return to being a prim and proper professional after.
That song was for Cam, our lucky bride-to-be. So give her a hand, Galway shawl.
Considering the state I'm in, one can excuse my smug grin as cheers and applause rise among the pub's patrons. Because, possibly off-key public singing aside, I feel like I'm on top of the world right now, and that's a good reason as any to belt out in front of these strangers. With good drinks and good friends, there's nowhere else I'd rather be tonight. And I forget for a short while.
And that song was brought to you by Marianne McCullough, everyone! A round of applause!
That was so good. You rock, Marianne. Oh, please stop. You're just saying that.
You know neither of us can hold a tune, Marianne. A toast to our shameless drunk singer. May your drinks forever flow and your notes be ever lovely.
Oops.
If anyone deserves a toast tonight, that's Cam. Finally sealed the deal after 3 years, eh? Read 'em and wait, bitches.
Kamala's diamond engagement ring gleams as she holds it up for all the world to see. She has reasons to be proud. 3 years of living together, and her boyfriend finally asks her the big question. Obviously, she says yes.
Don't get too attached to that ring or the one after, sweetie. I was wearing a wedding ring not so long ago, and look at where I am. But enough of me being a downer. Cheers to a happy engagement!
Of course, if something like Harana's divorce were to happen, I'd be there for Cam. Just as Cam has then been there for me, acting more than just my yoga instructor. I can't be happier for my friend right now.
Cheers! Cheers!
Well, we both will be there for Cam, won't we? Harana and I. Harana, it's been a real bad year for her ever since her divorce. She's such a nice person, even loaning me money to open a studio. She didn't deserve what her husband had pulled. I'm happy she's smiling again and pigging out like she used to. I think we've all missed our Japanese firecracker. We met in yoga class, something I had joined to keep myself in shape and, well, honestly, so that I could make friends when I had moved to Luxman. Clearly it worked like a charm. And it definitely didn't have anything to do with the fact that I brought along my lucky D20 die with me on the first day, no sir. I love these girls so much.
What about you, Marianne? You're 30 years old and you still haven't got yourself a man.
And you guys know I have a very busy schedule. I don't have time for that.
Oh, come on. That's a lame excuse and you know it. You need a man who'll take care of you and you need it now. Maybe some hunk will be your house hubby while you rake in the dough.
I'm quite capable of taking care of myself. Who needs a Mr. Right?
Hey, look at me. I'm Marion McCullough, a lawful neutral cleric with 9 points in wisdom and 8 in charisma, but I can't get myself a date.
I mentioned druids and demons once. Once. They don't even know the rules or anything or understand what the numbers mean. I certainly am not some sort of holy person. I'm a far cry from a miracle worker, and I barely have the willpower to fight off demons, especially my own.
Actually, maybe she isn't looking for a Mr. Right, but a Mrs. Right. Oh, my Marianne, we still love you even if you're in the closet.
That would explain some things. How do you know you don't have a ring anymore? Maybe you two can be together and I don't have to worry about my best girls being alone.
What are you on about? There's nothing to explain.
But the more I deny, the louder they tease until the other people in the pub start to watch. It doesn't help at all when Haruna drapes her arm over my shoulders and leans in.
Will I be all yours then? Will you be making me feel like a woman?
I know that they're just kidding around, but this doesn't make me comfortable in the slightest. So when Kamala notices my silence and Haruna sees the expression on my face, they stop. When the awkward air settles over us, the rest of the pub goes back to whatever they were doing before the whole thing ever happened. They probably won't even remember it when they wake up with massive hangovers anyway.
Sorry.
Me too.
Hey, no hard feelings, right?
I raise my glass. They smile. We drink. There's no need to say more. We're all definitely far too drunk tonight. Eventually, the fun times end. It is a weekday after all. And with Haruna being a nurse, she still has to get ready for her next shift. Cam also has a loving fiancé waiting for her at home. I really didn't have to make a fuss about having left some buns in the oven when she took off early. Really, I understand. I was the one who insisted, who was determined to get pissed drunk anyway. Moving to the bar, I sit. Alone at last. Oh no! Oh no. Cheers to you, Captain Asshole. Kimikun with 100 bits? Thank you so much! Oh my god, thank you, appreciate it! Yeah, it looks like the party's just getting started, and we have Luke Wright to keep us company when we're drunk and emotionally vulnerable in a bar. Okay, this is gonna go great. I haven't seen him here before. Obviously not a regular. He hasn't said a word and just sits there savouring his drink. With his whiskey served neat in one hand and lighter in the other, it doesn't seem like he's noticed me yet, and maybe I should go before he does look my way. Because he was pretty and he was blonde, and those two things plus alcohol never did me any good. Cheers to me and Luke. Oh, honey, if you only knew. I thought too late. Judging by the way his flushed face and the dazed look in his eyes, he's as pissed drunk as I am. Whereas I feel like keeling over, he looks like he's ready to take the catwalk by storm. And I think that's actually where I'm going to leave tonight's game, guys. Yeah, with this charming smooth jazz in the background, and Luke Wright eyeing us from across the bar, what could go wrong tomorrow next week on Woeful Wednesdays as we continue the letter So I'm going to wrap it up here for tonight, guys. Thank you all so much for joining me. I always have an amazing time streaming with you guys. Thank you so much for the bits. It's really appreciated. And if you're hanging out in the background and you like what you've seen so far, consider hitting that follow button. We would love to have you back at the Blue Rose Respite. You're always welcome here. So, thank you all so much for joining me this evening. Yeah, and I will see you more than likely on Friday evening. I might be out with my best friend while she's in town. We might be doing one last thing on Friday night. But be sure to follow me on Twitter, because that's where I post updates as to if I need to unexpectedly cancel a stream for the evening. And I also say it in the Discord chat, but just in case you're not a subscriber or a Patreon supporter, be sure to keep an eye on my Twitter for any updates. But I should be streaming on Friday night. So, thank you all so much for joining me. I hope all of you have a wonderful evening. And as always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and as always, stay wicked and wonderful. Good night.